film begins on a quiet night in Japan, inside a building full of rooms buzzing with activity. A young boy walks through the dim corridors, barely noticed by others. A woman stops to ask about him, and he replies proudly that he is learning a valuable trade. After she leaves, the boy sits outside a room and takes out a comic book, quickly absorbed in its pages. Soon, a man who knows him comes out of the room. With a smirk, he mocks the comic and teases the boy for dreaming of becoming a hero. The boy enters the house and sees his mother, who works as a prostitute, getting dressed. She gives him a gift, an action figure of his favorite comic hero, Darc, which he happily accepts. Moments later, he hears her screams and runs out with a hammer, finding a man assaulting her. He tries to fight, but is quickly overpowered. As the man is about to hit him, his mother grabs the hammer to protect her son. In the struggle, the man turns on her but suddenly collapses. Years later, the boy is now a grown man, about to be released from prison. Now grown and known as Darc, the boy steps outside and finds a man waiting for him. The man is Lafik, who arranged his early release from prison, but Darc refuses to hear him out. Desperate, Lafik explains that his daughter has been kidnapped by a man named Koga Kai and begs for help. Darc ignores him, boards a bus, and leaves. Refusing to give up, Lafik chases the bus and confronts him again when Darc steps off, vowing not to stop until he agrees. At last, Darc stops and asks what he wants. Lafik says Darc can do what he cannot, then shows him his prosthetic leg. Darc still refuses to help and goes his own way. He takes down drug dealers in an alley, showing he can do good, but he keeps the drugs and uses the money to rent an apartment. One night, while smoking, he hears a noise outside and meets Ivy, his outspoken neighbor. He introduces himself as Jake, but admits people also know him as Darc. After helping her pick up spilled groceries, he returns to his apartment and finds an envelope at his door. Inside are photos and a video of Lafik's kidnapped daughter. The images remind him of his abused mother, and he decides to get rid of all the drugs he has kept. While Darc is eating dinner, Lafik arrives and talks about his daughter. He urges Darc to avenge his mother, revealing that the man who killed her is the same one who kidnapped his daughter, Toshi Kageyama. A flashback shows Darc's mother bleeding from a stab wound, holding her son's hand as they run from the building, chased by Kageyama's men. The mother hit her son, but the men found her and beat her. Then the Yakuza boss, Toshi's father, stepped out of a car and slit her throat. After hearing the full story, Darc finally agrees to get involved. Lafik takes him to a place where they see Shigeru, Toshi Kageyama's son, meeting with a biker gang. The situation became dangerous, but Darc arrived just in time. He killed the attackers and saved Shigeru. Grateful, Shigeru invited him to dinner and offered him a place in the Yakuza. Darc accepted, and Shigeru told him not to worry about money. Later, while Darc was exercising in his apartment, Ivy showed up at his door with a pizza. While having dinner and talking with Ivy, Darc gets a call from Shigeru and steps away. He meets Shigeru, and together they attack a biker gang that is holding Shigeru's men captive. A violent fight erupts, and Darc kills every gang member, winning the battle. Afterward, Shigeru takes him to meet his father, Toshi Kageyama, the Yakuza boss. Facing the man who killed his mother, Darc fights to control his emotions and introduces himself by his real name, Jake Walters. At first, Toshi shows little interest. But after Shigeru urges him, he reluctantly accepts Darc and warns his son not to share anything important with him. After Shigeru leaves, Toshi orders his subordinate Kanji to retrieve the dragon for him. Shigeru then takes Darc to a strip club to celebrate. While Shigeru enjoys himself, Darc wanders through the club and runs into a woman who seems to recognize him. Suddenly, a group of mercenaries attacks. Darc fights back fiercely. Though badly beaten, he defeats them all. Watching from a distance, Toshi and Kanji grow angry. Later, Shigeru explains he couldn't step in because it was a test. In a private room, Toshi warns Darc that, as a gaijin, a foreigner, he will never truly belong to the Yakuza. Darc makes it clear that he only cares about money. When he learns Shigeru hasn't paid him, Toshi slaps his son and gives Darc the payment himself, taking out a portion to cover the damages at the club. After Darc and Shigeru leave, Toshi orders Kanji to investigate him, certain that Darc is hiding something. Back at his apartment, Darc is approached by the woman from the club, who says Shigeru sent her. He tries to send her away, but she insists leaving would put her in danger. Reluctantly, Darc lets her in and offers wine with the leftover pizza Ivy brought. As they talk, it becomes clear that Darc has known her before. He asks why Lisa is involved with these people, and she explains that she is repaying an old family debt to Kageyama. Before Lisa leaves, Darc gives her some money. He remembers how his mother worked the same way and never had anything for herself, so he tells Lisa to buy something decent. She leaves with the pizza and runs into Ivy in the hallway. Ivy feels offended when she sees a stranger walking off with the pizza she had brought. The next day, Kanji approaches Lafique and blackmails him with a video of his daughter, forcing him to gather information on Darc. Meanwhile, Shigeru takes Darc to intimidate the owner of a Chinese restaurant. During the clash, Shigeru hits one of the men, even as the man's mother pleads for mercy, insisting they were only following orders from the Bagua triad. Shigeru warned them that the territory would always belong to Koga Kai, then left with the money. Afterward, he and Darc raided the 888 gang's hideout and killed everyone inside as an act of revenge. That night, Lafique gave Kanji information about Darc, but he left out anything about his childhood. Meanwhile, Darc began his plan for revenge. He broke into Toshi's home, defeated all his men, and entered the bedroom, where he shot Toshi in the leg. There, he revealed his true identity and demanded to know the whereabouts of Renee, Lafique's daughter. But Toshi only answered with insults about Darc's dead mother. In a fit of rage, Darc beat Toshi to death. Lisa walked in and saw everything. She asked Darc to knock her out so no one would suspect her, and he did. After Darc returned home, a group of men showed up, tipped off by Lafique. Ivy armed herself with a gun, but Darc told her they were only business partners. Even so, he was taken to their headquarters and interrogated by Kanji, who beat him brutally. Shigeru arrived just in time, forcing Kanji to release him. Later, Shigeru and Kanji went to welcome Ginzo Kageyama, Shigeru's grandfather. Ginzo later met with Shigeru and Kanji, ordering them to find out who was responsible for Toshi's murder. Meanwhile, Darc returned home. When Ivy saw his injuries, she brought him into her apartment and cared for his wounds. All Darc could do was apologize. Shigeru confronted Lafique, demanding to know who killed his father. Lafique put the blame on Lee from the 888 gang. Though doubtful, Shigeru threatened him with his daughter's life before leaving. Later, he brought Lee's severed head to his grandfather, claiming Lee had confessed before dying. Ginzo praised him but stayed suspicious, believing Darc might be involved. The next morning, Darc woke up and warned Ivy that being close to him would put her in danger. Elsewhere, Toshi's tattooed skin was flayed and sent to Ginzo, along with documents exposing all of Darc's secrets. Soon after, Shigeru received a phone call that revealed the truth about Darc, leaving him shocked by the betrayal. Meanwhile, Lafique reached Darc and told him that Renee was about to be killed at the port. Rushing there, Lafique demanded her location from Kanji, but Kanji warned him about the consequences of lying. To Lafique's horror, he saw Renee hanging by the neck, waiting to be executed.
I'm sorry. Where is it? Huh? Tell me! let go, Shigeru!
Fuck.
Ginzo taunted Darc, saying he never remembered the men he killed, only the women, because they were special. He called Shigeru and reminded him that, despite his ambition and recklessness, avenging his father was his duty. Shigeru continued to beat Darc in front of his grandfather. Ginzo then ordered Shigeru to execute him and handed Darc over. As Darc was being taken outside, he saw Renee being escorted to see Ginzo. Once inside the car, Darc fought back, killing everyone including Shigeru, and escaped to rescue Lafik's daughter. Soon after, Ginzo received a call telling him that Darc had broken free. Ginzo knew Darc would come to rescue Renee. Darc stormed into the Yakuza headquarters, fighting and killing every man Ginzo sent against him until he reached the boss's office. There, Ginzo held Renee hostage and forced Darc to stab himself if he wanted her to live. Darc complied, but as Ginzo approached triumphantly, Darc suddenly rose and drove a blade into Ginzo's neck. Though he collapsed from blood loss, Renee, trained as a nurse, saved his life just in time.